This is footage of Vancouver's 1986 Expo, world famous Expo 86. They were taking so long to build the SkyTrain and couldn't even get it any close to the BART at all. It was a beautiful time in the 70s in Vancouver. It was a beautiful place. But when Harry Rankin was going to become the mayor, they quickly decided they wanted the city to become very sophisticated and international, and changed, and they did. They got Gordon Campbell in, and they got all the what's happening around the world, the New World Order, meaning they knew that the Hong Kong Chinese had got to start moving out of there because the British handover was coming up in 1997. So that's what happened, but it was wild beyond their best expectations as far as the Chinese money that was coming into Vancouver, but in cash. So they sold Vancouver to Hong Kong Chinese, and all the Vancouverites had to start moving because they would tear down houses and build new ones. Now, there was not the anticipated war between the Vancouverites and the Chinese from Hong Kong. I shouldn't call them Chinese anymore. I'm going to call them Hong Kongers because they were free and they had the money. There was no war, and people were thinking, geez, why isn't there a war? But it never panned out. There was no, even though our government started to change all of the signs into half Chinese signs, everybody calls Richmond Vancouver, and so on. There was not a whole lot of animosity that happened. So they're like, wow, this is pretty damn good. We got away with that. So let's take China off their bikes and put everybody else onto bikes. And because they knew that the handover of Hong Kong to the communists was going to come, so the Hong Kong people were going to get the hell out of there like a bat out of hell, as they should, as any normal person should. Now, why wouldn't things have changed after the Tiananmen Square just a couple of minutes later? Then Tiananmen Square happened just a couple of years after that, in 1989. So I'm going to let you see some footage of that. 1989, this is still before 97, and what I'm going to suggest to you is that nothing should have happened after this. There should have been no 1994 Three Gorges Dam, and there should have actually been no handover of Hong Kong to the Chinese. There should never have been 1997, but they did, because they were already invested to make China into a bunch of millionaires. And if you think that they planned to do anything good for China, you're wrong, or at least maybe they were stupid. Now, let me tell you something about the pride flag. This is nothing actually, but I mean, what really happened was another trauma for China. Another trauma for China. And they've never had an end to the trauma because like I said, the May 4th movement, the 1915 called the 21 Demands, they were constantly screwed over. Now, look at Walk with Yan. Meanwhile, back in the West, the Hong Kongers were doing excellent in the West. They had a lot of good feeling between 76 and 86. Both the East and West were looking good, dressing good. Everything was beautiful because of Hong Kong. Because when you have people that have the laissez-faire and ran situation, things get done. Now, it's not perfect because they have been still under exploitation. The British were extremely racist against the Hong Kongers in their own country. The British were, I have a book written by a British guy about, Hong Kong, they just make fun of them. Man, it's bad. And I know this because I'm part British and part Chinese, so I know it from my own family, how they feel about each other and what they say about each other behind their back, okay? Now I want you to look at this this, ever since I found it out, it's straight. And it's really tiny. I don't know why they shrunk it. But I had found it out. It's called, now they changed the word. It says Oblast, Jewish Autonomous Oblast, and it says that it's somewhere in China. It's a group, it's somewhere in China here, okay? And yet they have a flag that looks like the Pride flag. Now, what's weird is that after I mentioned it, the word changed to Oblast. That word does not make sense. When I found it, it was called the Jewish Autonomous Oblate. O-B-L-A-T-E. Now let me read you the definition of oblate. There's two definitions. One of them is flattened from pole to pole, flattened at the poles, OPP to prolate, such a sphere as is produced by the revolutions of an ellipse about its shortest axis. The other word for oblate is one not under vows but dedicated to monastic or religious life or work, especially one of a congregation of secular priests or sisters who live in community. Now, did you hear that? The Jewish Autonomous Oblate has just changed their name to the Jewish Autonomous Oblast, which does not make sense. Why does the Wikipedia change the word from oblate to oblast? It is oblate, and it's a pride flag. And an oblate is one not under vows. In other words, one not under your country's laws, but dedicated to monastic or religious life or work, the great work, especially one of a congregation of secular priests or sisters or what who live in community. That word has been so pushed around, it's unbelievable. Now, when was the last time you heard of a secular priest? And that is what the oblate is. It's actually the Jewish Autonomous Oblate. Whoever changed that purposely got found out, and they changed it, and that's just within the last year. So this is why I am deeply offended that there's some sneaky goings on over there. There is some extremely sneaky shit going on over there, because it's like taking candy from a baby, because the Chinese are innocent. They don't, they're not as cunning as many others. This is just like, and nobody's protecting them. What did the British do? The British went ahead and did the fucking 97 handover. The British just went ahead and fucking stabbed you in the back and twisted it around. And then they brought in the Three Gorges Dam and said, oh, well, here, you can make all the money in the world then. You can make all of our shower stalls forever now. That's what the British did for the Chinese. Now you can make all of our garbage, and we can just laugh at you. And poor Walk with Yan. See, all the people really genuinely loved Walk with Yan. They loved him. But he disappeared. He's gone now because he realized probably that they used him to sell Expo 86 because he was our only celebrity in Vancouver. We didn't have all these, Rambos at the time. All the movies, and then they started to film all the movies in Hollywood North. And think that everybody just wanted to be delayed on their way to work so that they could film their fucking movies. That's what they did. Oh, but because aren't you happy that they filmed that in Vancouver? What the fuck does that benefit me? It's not paying my bills. So, like I said, since Expo 86, Vancouver is a joke. Now it smells like urine. It used to be one of the most beautiful cities in the world. It used to be, and now like if you look at the Olympics, take a look at 1984, the Parade of Nations. It was so beautiful, and now it's just like somebody barfed out a nightmare. Somebody drank too much and had a nightmare. But Vancouver's the same. It will never be the same. It was a beautiful, beautiful city in harmony It even once had the most neon on Kingsway of any city, second only to Shanghai. But, I mean, everybody knows that they have been screwed over. And what's happening right now is they're in a state of shock, as shock happens when you die or when somebody dies, because of people like these suits. You know, people are like, geez, well, this... But no one knew that it would get this bad. I think worldwide, the world did not know how dark and ugly and 50 Shades of Grey would birth out of a colorful 80s. A colorful, vibrant, healthy, you know, old and young. Instead, what their plans were is to put all the old into old folks' homes, you know, destroy the family unit. And they can't mush this up. But they certainly did screw it up. And the exhibits at Expo 86 were terrible. Look at this. Our footsteps are everywhere. Like, the exhibits were actually really bad. But the only thing that made anything good about it was that there are still good people that somehow managed to make lemonade out of lemons. And I'm really sick of seeing good people just get worn down making lemonade out of lemons, because it's not possible anymore, because these are all the enablers, the do-gooders. They always make things good, but when they start waking up and saying, what the hell am I doing? Let's get behind this veil and let's do it now.